Greetings and salutations, viewer. I am Eric J. Chucci. Here with me is The Boy.
Hello.
And this is the inaugural episode of the Two Nerds podcast. That's right, we're back, and about as good as ever.
But you don't have to look at us now.
This is true, and my horrible brand new haircut. We decided to bring things back to talk about whatever the hell we want, really. Kicking things off with professional wrestling, a little bit of the old, mixed in with the new format. You know,
just to get us all rolling on the same page. So we decided to start with WWE's Extreme Rules Pay-Per-View for 2014.
Yes, before we dive into that, I do want to clarify every week, you know, we're not necessarily going to be talking about wrestling. Sometimes we might talk about other kinds of media. Sometimes we might just shoot the shit.
We will be talking about wrestling a lot, though, because it's a topic of conversation around our house often.
Yeah, we're shooting for every pay-per-view, every WWE pay-per-view that we go see, or that we see, excuse me.
By the way, side note, WWE Network, if you like their programming at all, so worth the $10 a month. If you got the extra scratch, entirely worth it.
If you miss WCW or ECW at all, or even like the older, you know, WWF stuff, it is definitely worth the price of admission. And some of their own individual programming is great as well. I mean, it's, you know, $10 a month isn't much.
And to be honest, I'd pay the $10 a month just for Legends House.
Yeah, Legends House and Countdown, two very quality shows. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it, get started with the pre-show.
Yeah, the pre-show. All right, the pre-show had a delightful, what do they call it, a WLC match between Hornswoggle, who is now 3MB's drummer, for anyone who hasn't been keeping up, and El Torito, who is amazing.
Now seems a good time as any to mention my cat is in heat.
So get used to that noise.
Yeah, if this is a casual podcast, and if Kevin Smith can have his dog barking, I think Spaz can trill to her heart's content. Yeah, the WLC match. I don't know what I expected, but WWE went above and beyond. This is clown shoes wrestling at its finest.
Oh, I know I didn't expect a wonderful tiny version of a garbage match.
The tiny commentary team.
The tiny, what was it? I'm trying to remember the names. Give me a second. There was WeBL.
Yeah.
The JBL stand-in. There was, I think it was called
Micro Cole.
Micro Cole, who, by the way, was actually a good commentator. And then there was Jerry the Mini King Smaller.
Yeah. And it was pretty funny. I mean, they took apart the announce table, the mini announce table.
There were so many tiny tables and tiny chairs, and there was a tiny ladder that wasn't sufficient, so they brought a smaller, but still tiny ladder.
I'm a big Lucha Libre fan. Both the program Lucha Libre and just, you know, Mexican wrestling in general. So seeing a minis match in the WWE in the modern era that wasn't treated as entirely a joke was really a treat.
It was still mostly a joke.
Yeah, there were a lot of laughs to be had, but they let El Torito
wrestle?
I believe Mascarito Dorado, I believe that's his
almost
famous Mexican wrestling name. But they let him do a couple of moves, and that was pretty nice. And
Hornswoggle did his level best. Look, the dude is pretty athletic for a guy his size with his conditions and such. And to be honest, he's all right. He's just not a trained Minico wrestler.
Yeah, no, by no stretch of the imagination. But they all did really great, and it was fun. And I think that's, you know, that's a good way to warm up your crowd if you don't want to go with a big
giant bang match to start things off. So it was a fun match. It doesn't really bear too much comment.
No, I mean, we can obsess over tiny ladders and tiny tables all night, but it was great. It got everything pumping, and I'm sure the live crowd loved it.
Because it was funny. The next thing was R-Truth and Consequences Creed. I don't know what his current name is. Give me a second. Let's see.
Xavier Woods.
Yeah. R-Truth and Xavier Woods versus Alexander Rusev, Ivan Drago.
I like Rusev's gimmick. I think it's nice that we have this guy again, and I like that they're not trying to make him Drago.
No,
I mean, because that's what they always do, or Koloff, or whatever you want to,
Whatever parallel you want to draw. No, he's just a big monster bruiser heel, and he has himself a manager who gives him marching orders. It's nothing new, but it's done fairly well. The match itself was a pile of crap, not because of anyone involved, just because they weren't trying for a wrestling match.
Yeah, it was just putting over Rusev, who I like that there's a bit of an MMA slant to his gimmick. It makes him feel a bit different. It lets him set apart from every other Red Menace wrestler out there.
Yeah, with the taped feet and the moves he does, that's
he's got kind of a Samoa Joe vibe, as opposed to
just Koloff or Kozlov from a few years ago.
Yeah. Even he wasn't Russian, but what was that guy about 6 years ago? Heidenreich. Before he became a joke when he read poetry and stuff. When he was, just a big monster. He was German.
Right. Yeah.
The same damn gimmick.
It's pretty much exactly, yeah.
I like the camel clutch being back. I'll say that much. And he seems to be pretty talented.
He's good. I can't wait for him to get some actual matches where I can see him work a little bit more, because I want to see how he works when opened up for an actual full-scale wrestling match, as opposed to just squashing poor R-Truth and Xavier Woods.
I have to say, though, really the strongest part of his gimmick right now is his manager. I mean, this is a character who's come out of basically nowhere. I'm not familiar with her.
Me neither. I'm sure she's somebody, but we're not super familiar.
I'll pull up my phone here so there's not a bunch of clickety-clacking.
All right, do your thing. I'll fill space while he's over there because he's away from the mic. I like her partially just because she's very on point. She's very professional, and she doesn't get over involved in the matches. Most of it is, Rusev doing his thing, and then her job is essentially to do the hand motion, the grasping a fist with the crash.
She's very poised too. I mean, that kind of role is so easy to overblow and so easy to, make into a caricature.
Easier, honestly, than doing it correctly.
Yeah, and she just does it with such professionalism. It's just nice to see.
While he's looking up who that was, honestly, like I said, the match itself was pretty bit. There wasn't a whole lot there to talk about. Next on the order was, I actually believe they went with the Shield versus Evolution next on the card.
Wasn't there another match?
Running down the whole
in
card.
In the pre-show?
No, I don't. If we're missing something, it's not on the card here that I'm looking at online. We had the Divas match, we had the World Title match, we had Shield versus Evolution, and then the cage match. So
I could have sworn there was another match. There was that promo. Stephanie and Daniel Bryan.
Oh, yeah, where she called him Kane's bitch. That was actually pretty great.
Yeah, that was okay.
You don't hear that kind of language from WWE a lot anymore, and I like hearing it. It makes me happy, because every little bit they can distance themselves from the PG era makes me happy. Just happy. Pulling up another card just to make sure that the one I was looking at didn't have a... No, we had that. Yes, we forgot about the triple threat, the elimination triple threat.
Yeah, no, that was a really good match too.
Unfortunate that we forgot about the Cesaro match. That makes me
I could have sworn there was another big match I was really excited for.
Yeah, like I said, I was looking at the other card I was looking at was apparently just wrong. Tracking back then to the triple threat match. Oh, honestly, now that I mention it, it was a good match. It was
solid. I don't know about good, but it was very
good for
solid.
what I expected. Honestly, it was a lot better than I expected because Rob Van Dam didn't stink up the place too hard.
No, yeah, he was on par.
And that's about all you can expect from him. He did the same moves he's done for the last, 10, 12, 14, 25, 35 years. But he didn't fuck up. And he didn't botch like a bunch of moves like he's been doing recently. He kept his end of the bargain up. Jack Swagger's a talented power wrestler. And Cesaro is fucking amazing.
Pulling back, Lana is her in-ring name. CJ Perry is her actual name.
Oh, the manager for Rusev?
Yes. She's actually an actress. She doesn't have any big roles. Probably the biggest thing she's been in was Pitch Perfect as sort of an extra. So I guess she can sing. And with a dancing background, I can see why.
She's very
poised. And that's
always very aware of where her body is.
For a long time, and still a bit today, WWE's hiring practices have been sort of questionable. They sit on really great talent in FCW forever.
Which, that's actually going, not the way of the dinosaur, but there's this thing on Twitter. I've seen it trending, NXT TakeOver. Have you noticed how many of them are keeping their gimmicks from FCW NXT?
That's nice. I like it.
They're keeping their gimmicks, they're keeping their builds, and they're doing well.
I wish Bo was still with the Wyatt family.
I think the Wyatt family's established enough now that him joining wouldn't be good for either.
That's a fair point. I wish they had brought him up with them in that case.
I also wish that, but he'll probably do fine with the face gimmick, the Bo Leave gimmick. I might be talking out of my ass here. Isn't he IRS's other kid? Is that the case?
I don't think so, but we can check here. Fact checking is always important.
Because I'm almost certain that IRS's other kid is in NXT right now. I just don't remember who it is. Let's see here. You're checking, so it doesn't make clean.
Yeah, I'll take a look here. It's not a big deal.
But to the triple threat match.
The triple threat match. I thought it was...
Cesaro was the best thing in it, which is understandable and expected.
Yes, he is Taylor Michael Rotunda.
I thought so. Which, that might be why they split them up.
Might be.
Because
I guess he's always been Bo Dallas, but I was under the impression that he wrestled with the Wyatt family.
Probably when the Wyatt family was just getting started.
Maybe. It could be.
By the way, on record, you guys probably remember me bitching long and hard in the old YouTube videos about Husky Harris and how much he sucked. I would like to formally retract those statements. Husky Harris did suck. Bray Wyatt is amazing.
Yeah, wait till we get to the part where he talks about how much he likes Bad News Barrett now. It's for all our old fans.
for viewer Ultimo Dragon, you are going to love this.
But yeah, I thought the triple threat was good. I think Rob Van Dam, at his age, is what I wish Jeff Hardy would be at Rob Van Dam's age. We're never going to get that.
God,
because
no.
Jeff Hardy is Rob Van Dam now.
Poor Jeff.
But, he managed not to gas out. He pulled some big spots, and he wasn't on point. He wasn't the hyper-athletic, martial arts master that we were used to seeing back in ECW. But the guy's put his body through hell.
He was an ECW original wrestler. He's basically running on fumes because he's been destroyed in the Hammerstein Ballroom for years.
And he, he still put on a good pay-per-view match. It's like there was an article recently that was actually on WWE.com, I believe. It was about how everybody forgot that Sabu revolutionized wrestling. And a lot of comments on it were, I saw Sabu here recently. He's slower, but he's still doing the same stuff. And you have to admire that. You get to that point where all of your joints hurt. I know when I get up in the morning and walk down the stairs, it's hard, and I'm just some, 28-year-old fat ass. I can't imagine doing triple jump moonsaults and...
Yeah, look, that's actually a fair disclaimer. I'm going to be bitching about, in the course of this podcast, anytime we talk about wrestling, about guys being, looking lazy or not looking like they're trying or, not being fit enough for the gig. Look, point of fact, all these dudes way more physically fit than me and could probably beat my asshole in. That's not the point.
Yeah, I mean, here's the difference. If we were in the business, if we had made this path in our lives at a young enough age to, now it's kind of a moot point. This is a young man's game. I'm already pushing 30. I'm not going to be able to get fit in time for that.
No. Shit, I'm 25 and I'm not.
But had we followed this path, yeah, I'd stay in shape. Yeah, I'd do my best to be, on point all the time. Would I be as good as Rey Mysterio in his prime? Probably not, but...
Few things were as good as Rey Mysterio in his prime.
Yeah, he was always entertaining. He still manages to be very showy when he does show up for a match, but that's a discussion for another time.
Right.
I think then is when we went into the Shield and the Evolution match. That was what, really strongly opened the pay-per-view, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it was... technically the first card on the pay-per-view, I believe, was the Rusev match. Because I know that it was the Minico wrestling, and then it was the Triple Threat.
Well, I mean, it's kind of immaterial.
It's all basically the same show. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you can catch it if you have the network, and as we said before, you should have the network.
No. The next one was the Intercontinental match.
Was that first?
Yeah, that was first.
Okay, all right.
The match for the Intercontinental title. Bad News Barrett versus Big E, who's dropped the Langston, I guess.
Yeah, he did that a few months ago.
That's actually probably for the best. I don't know that Cesaro dropping Antonio was for the best, but the dropping Langston was probably
Here's
good.
what I don't get, okay? When the Big Show showed up, he was Paul White, and then he was the Big Show Paul White. I think he started out being Big Nasty. When he first showed up in WWF.
I don't think so, because Big Nasty's Kevin.
He was Big Ugly, Big something. No, Kevin Nash is Big Sexy.
He's also Big Nasty. He's pretty much Big everything.
Well, I suppose. But I know they called Undertaker
Big
Evil for a while, and then Big Something is kind of a thing they
I'm
throw
pretty
around.
sure they didn't call him the Giant, because that's a WCW term, and they didn't know him back then.
No, yeah, when he first showed up, he was Paul White.
I'm pretty sure he just transitioned right to the Big Show. We can look it up if you want.
No, it's not that big of a deal. My point was more in the fact that, he was the Big Show Paul White, the Big Show Paul White, the Big Show Paul White, and then he just became the Big Show. Nobody, there was no, okay, he's just the Big Show now announcement. And they've done that both times, both with Cesaro and with Big E. And for whatever reason, they, make a point of it.
It's branding.
It's branding, but I don't wonder if that's not branding taken too far. I mean...
You think maybe making a point of it is kind of...
It kind of pokes holes in the illusion.
He's officially changing his kayfabe, everyone.
Yeah, right. You can't call him Antonio anymore. I've seen Paul Heyman almost stutter over the A vowel sound when talking about him.
Antonio Cesaro. That's just a good name. Not as good as Claudio Castagnoli, but still.
Well, copyright stuff.
Yeah, they want to be able to slap that shit on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And as well they should.
Name anyway.
Not Big E.
He needs the Langston a bit.
He needs something. Look, the guy's huge and not bad. He's got, as the announcers are wont to point out, explosive power. He's strong as shit. He should be looking like he does.
I honestly don't even really remember the match. I know I was playing a league match through the first couple of portions because we weren't sure if we'd be able to record tonight or not. But man, I remember the Xavier Woods match better.
See, I actually remember this match because I was watching it. And because
sorry, this was a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, of course it was. It better fucking been. I'd have been real mad.
This is, to me, from a booking standpoint, I see this as, oh God, why did we give Big E the title? Nobody gives a flying fuck.
Let's fix that. Let's give it to someone everybody hates or likes.
And this guy, he has potential. You're not wrong there. He's very good in the ring.
But he needs something. He's not.
Yeah, he's just so bland.
He's got nothing on a microphone. He doesn't have an interesting voice or cadence. He doesn't have an ability to cut a promo that is enough to catch your attention. It's enough to hold your attention if you're already paying attention, but he doesn't grab you.
Well, and
that's a problem.
His voice sounds so young. He doesn't have wrestler voice yet. Like, I mean, even Dolph Ziggler now manages to have a bit of a wrestler voice and doesn't always sound like a tween. But he's just not... He doesn't seem like a real wrestler. He seems like...
a trainee.
Yeah, and
he is a real wrestler. He's a talented wrestler. To use a term they've made derogatory, right now he's a very B-plus guy. He's good, not main event, not top-tier talent, but good and working on getting better. He's just lingering because his gimmick has no hooks in it.
What even is his gimmick?
Big, giant black guy.
That's not sufficient.
No, but that's a discussion for another time.
That is a discussion for another time. I'll throw on a mask and we'll talk about it a little bit.
But honestly, without getting into that discussion, there isn't a whole lot more to talk about here. Bad News Barrett said some funny stuff about, awful diseases, and then he won the match with a bullhammer elbow. Pretty cool spot, too, but...
Yeah, I remember the bullhammer. I remember that. I like Barrett's gimmick a lot. I really thought they were going to give this to Cesaro, in the bracket.
Like in the tournament you thought so. So did I, but I guess they didn't want to strap him to the Intercontinental title. Maybe they think he's above it at this point.
Perhaps, but at the same time, when you have combined your main event titles, the Intercontinental title regains its importance. It stops being, the European Championship. It becomes the Intercontinental title again.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm not sure what to do. Maybe he'll fight Bad News Barrett.
Maybe, and I think Barrett's a perfectly good talent for the title.
Yeah, speaking of, fucking Wade Barrett put on his dancing shoes and made me like him. That Bad News Barrett gimmick is so good for him. It takes exceptional advantage of his silly accent. Not all British accents are silly. Wade Barrett's accent is silly.
It seems like he struggles with his own cadence, his own words. Like he doesn't quite know what accent he's supposed to be using, and I know it's his natural accent.
Yeah, that's just how he talks, but it sounds silly. And the Bad News Barrett gimmick is bombastic enough that it works, and they've built it up, and he's honestly not a whole lot better in the ring than he was. They've thankfully bumped that terrible finisher he used to have down to a signature move, which is nice.
I think it's a decent move.
It's just so boring.
It's underwhelming,
yeah.
I think. I mean, he hits that and you're like, wow, that was a good move. But to end the match on it, okay, if Big E Langston pulled that off, or if Brock Lesnar pulled that off, and they were able to put the oomph behind it that Barrett just doesn't.
Because he's not built that way.
No, he's tall, but
he's all
not,
arms and legs. He's for punching.
He's not upper body. He's not shoulders and chest, which is where you need that strength.
Even then, for me, it's an Irish Curse backbreaker. It's it's a cool move that is to set up your finisher.
Yeah, I would agree entirely with that. And they gave him a lot of spark. I love the thing with the elbow pad where he turns it inside out and it's red on the inside. That's cool. That's clever. Kudos to whoever's idea that was.
That's the kind of thing the audience gets into. They know to cheer when that happens.
Well, and that's something you and I have talked about privately a lot. Is it seems like these days more than a resurgence of the actual Attitude Era, New Age Outlaws title run notwithstanding, we're experiencing a spiritual resurgence of the Attitude Era. By which I don't mean that they're swearing a lot more and they're doing these risque storylines, but more that the characters have character. I mean, for so long we went with a roster that was mostly full of people who had the same blue chipper gimmick.
Yeah, there were a lot of them. A lot of the people in the tag team in their Continental division didn't really have much of a gimmick.
They were just, I mean...
They had, a look, a very iconic look.
A look, they had talent. Sometimes they cut a decent promo or had a catchphrase or two. But part of selling the match is your identity during the match. And if you can do things like the "you can't see me" taunt, like the elbow pad.
Like the people's eyebrow.
Like the people's eyebrow, like Stone Cold middle fingers and him going crazy, stomping a mud hole. You need something that the audience recognizes is building. That this is the big point in the match. And
something that builds the story of the match, something that makes it into more than just a wrestling match, makes it into an event, a show, a little miniature story. You need that stuff, and that stuff only comes from characters.
Right. I mean, that's why that could work in a smaller fed. You know, I mean, even as large as, say, Chikara, which I've been watching a lot recently. Or, you know, smaller independent feds, like our local feds. That works. Just wrestling a match totally works. You're trying to entertain, what, 50, 100 people?
Max.
Not a big deal. But when you're in the WWE, there's a certain amount of spectacle required.
There's pageantry, because your matches are going to be a little slower, a little more padded than some independent places, because you have to be safe, you're a gigantic company. So you need pageantry. You need pomp and circumstance. You need Triple H coming out dressed like Shao Kahn. You
need the Godfather charging up for his Ho Train. I mean, something as simple as that. Something as simple as a DX crotch chop.
Or Shawn Michaels tuning up the band. It's to get the audience fired up and into the match, into the story, into what's happening in front of them.
And, you know, I think this actually transitions well into the next match, the Evolution versus...
yes.
The
This
Hounds of
was
Justice.
The Hounds of Justice. My current favorite thing. Maybe tied for my favorite thing on WWE television right now. Oh my God, is the Shield an amazing group of guys and an amazing gimmick.
I'm glad they're working on their promo skills. I always thought they were a little...
Bland?
No. Undertrained.
Rough
nervous.
around the edges, yeah.
Like, not...
They could do fine in the background promos.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They had that intensity.
Yeah.
They got the real close-in shots and stuff. But out in the ring, in front of those thousands of people, you could see nerves for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Still a little bit on Rollins and, to a lesser extent,
Roman Reigns?
Yeah, on Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns is well served by being taciturn. He
Yes.
is well served by keeping his words short, sweet, and threatening. Because that fits his character. And
Yeah.
Seth Rollins has a hard road to hoe, man.
He does. Again, Boy and I have talked about this a bit in our own time. He's kind of like I mean, the only real place to go with his gimmick as a face, with Rollins' gimmick as a face, you know, his personality is probably a little too close to CM Punk for comfort.
So they don't go there, and he's sort of stuck in this weird middle ground where he doesn't...
Like, he can't quite be counterculture, but he needs to be something other than Dean Ambrose again.
Who, by the way, is just great at his job. I want to be... You're going to go out there, you're going to be a psychopath. I can do that.
Yeah.
This is his response. And he does it well. He does it very well.
I mean, but in the ring, these guys, and this is exactly what I'm talking about, especially against Evolution. Evolution is a stable that I've actually never really liked.
I like them a lot, and that's where this is a good interplay. I've always liked Triple H. I'm one of the few people who didn't mind Triple H's reign of terror in the mid-2000s. I like the guy as a talent. I think he's amazing on mic work. I think he's probably one of the best ring psychologists in the business,
Yeah,
especially
agreed.
now that The Undertaker's semi-retired. And I honestly think he is pretty well deserving of all the acclaim that he gets a lot of the time. He's probably also deserving a lot of the shit he gets.
Oh, definitely.
But it never bothered me. And I love Evolution as a stable. I loved them back in the day, and I like them now with some caveats.
Well, I don't really disagree with you on a lot of points, except for the funness for Evolution itself. Back in the day, their big selling point was Ric Flair. Because I was still kind of coming out of my dislike for Triple H, whether it be because of his reign of terror or just because I was never really sold on the guy. I mean, I remember before he and Steph got married, you know, when he first came back after he was injured for a long time.
That was actually after they got married.
Was it?
Yeah. It was after they got married in kayfabe, before they got married in real life. They had actually started dating in real life during his injury. The quad tear.
That, you know what, I think you're right about that. Now, I'm remembering back. I don't have information in front of me. But I remember sitting on the floor in my old house watching Monday Night Raw, and Triple H came back, and you know what? A little bit of the back of my brain went, ooh.
Ouch, that hurts.
And then I started to remember who the guy was, and because I unfortunately at that point in my life I hadn't seen most of the original Run of DX. I was away from wrestling for a while. I kind of caught the tail end of it just after they absorbed the New Age Outlaws and X-Pac. I think the first show I started watching wrestling again after like a several-year hiatus. Put it to you this way: the last show I watched wrestling, I believe Davey Boy Smith was still wrestling. The first show when I came back, I'd watched some WCW before then, but the first WWF show that I came back into was the heat after the dumpster match with Mankind and Terry Funk.
And the New Age Outlaws.
Yeah, the New Age Outlaws. So not too long after the stable formed together, as a stable instead of just a tag team between Triple H and Shawn. And I knew Triple H. I liked Triple H just fine. He was a decent mouthpiece, but he was never really much more than that to me until later in my life. And even after I, found out about DX and all that sort of stuff, I never really caught on to Triple H. I've always been a Shawn Michaels guy. I love Shawn Michaels. I mean, from way back in the day, I love Shawn Michaels. But, Triple H, I never really hated him until he, had the corporation.
Where he was the champion forever.
Yeah.
The thing that inspired songs about how much of an asshole he was.
But, lately, I've enjoyed him more and more as time goes on. I really love the way the man carves a promo. He's not as good in the ring as he used to be.
Well, he's getting older, and he's not as bombastic in the ring as he used to be, but he's a master of his craft in terms of telling a story.
Yeah, the psychology's definitely still there. That hasn't left in the least. I like Batista back in the day.
That's my caveat for liking Evolution. Breakdancing Dave is not my friend right now. He's just... They did not expect him to have to be a heel. He was not coming back expecting to have to work to get audience to boo him more. Not that he has to work very hard.
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with expectation like that. I just think he's not... He came back to have a little fun, do a little wrestling, promote his movie, and they pushed him too hard, and he wasn't ready to compete. Now, I'll give him all the credit in the world. He actually wrestles.
Yeah, he wrestles on television. That's important.
And it's post-WrestleMania, and the dude's still here.
It's the pay-per-view after, and he had a full match. He had matches heading up to that. He had brawls heading up to that. The dude is around. He's just... And it actually wasn't as much of a problem now as it was at WrestleMania. At WrestleMania, he was gassed out in the first 10 minutes of that match. In this match, he was pretty good until the big nap he and Roman Reigns took.
Well, and the big nap was part of the whole storyline. This match was incredible, by the way. I was a little critical of it at first because it was really slow build, and WWE doesn't usually do that unless the match is going to be crap.
Yeah, it normally doesn't go slow, slow, slow. Oh my god, amazing, what the hell? It goes slow, 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 slow. That's the end. And we're done.
And especially with as quiet as Triple H has been in the ring, and with Bautista being Bautista, I wasn't expecting much.
But that is not what we got.
No, yeah.
It started off slow. It really did. It started off very, very basic, raw style, six-man tag. Starts off actually with a pretty good, bombastic start. The three dudes, big six-man brawl.
Yeah, it took forever for it to even actually start, didn't it?
Yeah, Shield clears the ring. Takes them a while to get back into the ring. They start fighting. Ref breaks them up. Starts the match, and the Shield immediately goes into six-man tag, heel wrestling. They isolate the faces. They keep them away from their partner. And honestly, they kept Roman Reigns out of the ring for that entire slow part.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't have any other speeds, man.
No, and that's also pretty great.
Yeah, no, it is great
because they kept him out of the. They let the two guys who are slowly becoming the beats, the fucking everlasting punching bags,
right.
of the Shield. They
sell so much better, and Roman Reigns works better as a monster.
And he does sell, but not as good as Seth Rollins or Dean Ambrose.
No. Rollins can do backflips from a clothesline, and Ambrose's face is just he can torture himself so well. It's a spectacle.
He does amazing Flair style flop work.
Yes, he does.
Oh, there was a little spot in the middle of the match where Triple H is like taunting him to come get him. And
oh yeah, that was great.
He's
making phantom punches.
He's like trying to get him. We're bad at describing wrestlers. If you remember our videos, we had the Wrestle Buddies for that. And
still have them in the next room.
Yeah.
Don't do very well for audio though.
No. I honestly, I hate being the shill guy. I really urge you to pick up the network, watch this pay-per-view, because of the last, 4 WWE pay-per-views I've watched, and there's big gaps there, it's usually just WrestleMania until recently, this is probably the best one.
This was a fun pay-per-view. I mean, it wasn't an A+.
No, but it was a solid B, and that's better than I expected.
Yeah, definitely, and I was really happy with it. But this match, and what I was saying is, spot after spot after spot, it went really well. In the end, the Shield won the match.
The Shield won the match clean as a sheet.
Oh, yeah. It was beautiful.
After a huge, amazing second story jumping cross body by Seth Rollins, where he turned himself into the second coming of Jeff Hardy and tried to murder himself.
Oh. How many months ago was it you were like, I don't know if I like this guy?
They hadn't let him wrestle.
No, they hadn't.
They had not let him wrestle since he joined the Shield. They came out, they triple powerbombed right back. That happened pretty much every week for a long time. And they didn't wrestle. The only one who wrestled was Dean Ambrose. And then at the end of the match, Roman Reigns would come in and murder everybody.
Right.
So since they let Seth Rollins start actually doing what he does in the ring, oh my God! He's really, really fucking good.
The save he made, was on the pedigree, wasn't it?
No, it was on the boot. He did 2 this match. He did 2 of the exact same save. I know what you're talking about. He did one that was the pedigree.
One of them did it on the pedigree, and the other one, and Ambrose did it on the powerbomb, or vice versa. Whatever
something like that. No, it was. I remember the spot you're talking about. I know the spot you're talking about. I'm pretty sure it was a Bautista bomb.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
It was a Bautista bomb, and they were setting up for, I think it was, I'm almost certain it was Reigns.
Yeah, Reigns, both times.
And it was both times it was Reigns, and Seth Rollins leaps in from basically space. I don't know where he came from. And he clears Roman Reigns
just beautifully, and nails
that flying knee that he does.
It was just gorgeous. But anyway, the point I was trying to make, harkening back to the Attitude Era, what you have here is an Attitude Era team in the Shield.
Very much is.
And you have that sort of...
the post-Attitude Era, the early 2000s sort of...
They had some sort of stupid name for it. I don't remember what it was.
I don't care.
But yeah, that era where everybody was kind of bland. And that's really what Evolution is and was. They had an awesome theme song. And they had kind of a look because they always wore suits.
They were the bland horsemen.
Yeah, they were the bland horsemen. I mean, that's a pretty good way to put it. They were icons of the industry at the time, but this was before Randy Orton became Lord Voldemort. So he was just Big Arms guy.
He did big arms, and he was super young.
This was before
Bautista developed a personality at all.
I wish they'd been able to milk that Kanye West gimmick harder. It was beautiful. But whatever. He never really had much of a personality until that, and that didn't last long enough. So Batista's bland. Triple H is still Triple H, but when Triple H is a heel, he's not allowed to be awesome.
And he is so awesome by nature.
That he just has to dial it back from 9 to 4.
And he has to be very calm, very quiet. And I honestly think that's where they started turning the Shield face. They started doing it a couple months before they started doing it in the storyline, because the Shield stopped wrestling like heels. Mm-hmm. They started wrestling like faces. They started doing the big moves that everybody loves, and they started doing the big bombastic plays, 3-man saves and stuff. That's something faces do, not heels.
Well, and I agree with you, and I think that's part of why the crowd got behind him. It's very old school mentality, but I'm also of the mindset that you can do that and still be a heel. Look at the older Undertaker and Kane, the sit-up move. Kane pulling on his glove and wiggling his fingers. The throat cut. I mean, those are big, iconic...
But you have to have a heel behind that. You have to have someone
right.
who is just terrible. Like, steals 40 cakes kind of terrible.
Well, and
the Shield were never those guys.
No, well, I mean, they were. When
they first showed up and triple powerbomb Ryback for like 6 straight months.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise where I'm moving, but my chair's on.
Crickety. It's fine. We'll edit him out in post. It'll just be me talking to myself.
Okay, that's hurtful, is what it is.
You are the murder face of our duo. I'm the rest of the band.
Just mix it out.
But, they, as I said, when Evolution first started, my favorite part was Ric Flair. Because Ric Flair was so old, he stopped actually cutting promos and just shot everything he said.
Oh, what was that one TNA promo he cut? Where in my contract does it say I have to take crap from women?
It's like, at the time when I was watching that, I was like, whoa, Rick, dude, don't say that. But also,
the comedy comes from the fact that he said it.
Yeah,
he said it.
He doesn't care. And there's backstage, there's censors scrambling and going, who do we have to throw money at for this to go away? But, so they take Ric Flair out of the deal, and we're left with 3 guys who have their own individual skills, but none are really up to it. Randy Orton isn't Lord Voldemort anymore. He's pseudo-Voldemort. He's still got some snakiness, but...
They're not allowed to really do Lord Voldemort
No, because he hurt himself.
Yeah, he hurt himself, not wrestling a match, doing the little snake dance he did before an RKO, which, by the way, best part of the character at the time.
And the guy's gotten so much better on the mic recently. I mean, just miles better on the mic, and I'm really glad.
Really super recently, too, last couple months. And it has been a huge shift. He got good. He didn't used to be good.
And for his part, Triple H is doing what Triple H does. He's just doing it quieter.
Yeah, he's just being heel Triple H instead of face Triple H. Heel Triple H now. Heel Triple H a la heel Jericho when he wore the suit. Because heel Triple H can be awesome, but he has to be DX. He has to be the awful, terrible, degenerate who roofied Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah.
He has to be a terrible human being. He has to be Katie Vick Triple H to be a heel and awesome at the same time.
Yeah, we don't have the...
Nobody wants Katie Vick.
Well, Kane.
Oh! Oh!
I went there.
You did. No one's happy about it.
No, not even me.
Not even Kane.
But, you gotta wonder if he just, sits around his house sometimes and goes, why did I do that?
Why did I agree to that?
Why did I agree? Why did I acquiesce? So here's these guys that are the epitome of talented but bland, against these guys who are the epitome of that Attitude Era attitude, the bombastic in the ring. They've got their little dances and their punches and their big spot moves that everybody loves to see, and the mentality and the unity. I mean, it's great. I think it's honestly more than all the symbolism that was around the last Triple H versus Undertaker match. More than really anything that's happened since then. This was symbolic of, okay, WWE's moving into a new era.
Because you just had the evolution, the 3 top talents, top heels, top faces, just depending on what time of day it was, for years now. And they lost clean to these young up-and-comers who don't really have anything of note between them. And 1 tag title run and the longest reigning U.S. champ in modern history.
And they don't play by the rules, and they don't...
They're the Attitude Era. They're the most Attitude Era a PG show can give us. Which is probably a lot of why I like them. Look, I'm not a man without preferences.
Well, no, let's be perfectly honest here. The Attitude Era was good for a reason. I think we all look at it through rose-colored glasses a bit.
A little, yeah.
But
myself included.
But, myself included as well. But, there's still something to be said for the pageantry, the showmanship.
Oh my God, by God, they've killed him. They've broken him in half of it all.
But, yeah, it was a fantastic match. Definitely worth a watch. If you only watch one match on the pay-per-view, I'd say it's probably that one.
Yeah, like, look it up on YouTube, whatever. If you only want to see one match, just to get an idea of what we're talking about, and you don't watch WWE wrestling, A, are you listening to this?
Yeah.
But, B, dude, watch that match.
Yeah, that's a good, solid match.
Solid. Best match on the card. Then we move on to the second best match on the card, and the thing that is tied for my favorite thing on WWE television. The next match after that triple threat was Bray Wyatt versus John Cena in a steel cage. Before that, though, was the Cage's entrance, which my friend here always marks out for.
I'm sorry, Cage. It has entrance music. That very concept thrills me. But, and lights. Super quick rundown, in case you're just joining us. While the boy and I are both fairly fond of John Cena as an individual, as a humanitarian, and as a performer,
he's very good.
We're very tired of seeing him on top. I think that's the most concise way to put that.
Yeah, like, you know, the rest of the known universe.
Right. Well, I mean, everybody else gets a little vitriolic, and I just want to make sure everything's clear here. John Cena is a great guy. He's a great human being, and much against my will, he manages to make me laugh pretty much every time he gets on the mic.
And decides to be funny.
When he's serious, he's awful. But I don't think he's the best wrestler in the world, but he's been playing to his strengths lately. He's been using that vertical leap that he hasn't touched since, 2001?
No, he does it every now and again. He'll
again.
Bust it out every now and again for big reasons.
Yeah, twice in this show, though. That beautiful leapfrog over a barely stooping Husky Harris, Bray Wyatt, excuse me, and with that drop kick that made me interested in John Cena back when he was still wearing tights.
Back when he was, screaming about ruthless aggression and fighting, Kurt Angle. But yeah, no, it's. I'm probably the biggest John Cena apologist you're likely to meet, which sounds odd coming from a guy whose favorite wrestler is probably Stone Cold Steve Austin. I added the probably in there because Old School Undertaker was also really cool. But, it's just, he's good. He doesn't have the best work rate. He's not, he's not a technical mastermind. He's not Dean freaking Malenko, but Dean Malenko was boring.
He had that 007 music, and he looked at Lita's butt in the shower.
Who wouldn't? 10 seconds of silence. But it was just... I can't handle it anymore. John needs to he just has to take a step away. And speaking of that, this build has been leading to it, sort of. They had their match at WrestleMania, which no one thought John Cena was going to win. No one logical thought John Cena was going to lose. Because he's not going to lose at WrestleMania. He's not going to lose the big match for his legacy at WrestleMania.
I wanted him to, desperately.
I wanted him to, too.
And, honestly, as much as I really like this match, I think the match at WrestleMania was a better match. Not in terms of ring work. Neither of these were great matches in terms of ring work. There were a couple really cool spots. But, let's be perfectly honest here, they didn't
put on a clinic, okay?
No. I mean, you probably saw a better match between Jack Swagger, Cesaro, and RVD.
Yeah. Almost undoubtedly. Just a better
definitely.
Straight match, yeah. This was a story.
Yeah, and WrestleMania's story was so much stronger. There was such a conflict there, and the end was a little stupid, and I think the announcers ruined it more than the actual action.
The announcers and therapist referee.
Yeah, therapist referee. Don't do it, Sean. This isn't you.
Way to stay impartial, fucko.
But this was still a good contest, and I think there was a lot of really subtle psychology in there. The number of times John Cena went for the door, as opposed to going out over the top.
The number of different ways they found for the Wyatt family to keep Cena in the cage via evil heel trickery.
Yeah, it was really, really creative stuff, and there were a couple of times where, you said out loud and my heart seized up while we're like, no, Cena's just going to take it. The hype train keeps on moving.
And Super Cena is undefeatable. When he first walked out, I said, oh, He's got new merch because he has new merch today, which of course means John Cena's powers have been refreshed, so he can't lose. He's got new merch. I can call it now. Cena wins.
I had faith.
He followed the Buzzards.
I followed the Buzzards hard. This build-up, by the way, this entire feud, and I don't think it's over yet. I think Cena's probably going to take it at the end.
Yeah, I say rubber match, Cena wins.
But
he doesn't need to lose it. He lost one.
He lost one, and he lost it very well, and I think he gave a lot of credit to the Wyatt family as a staple. But this build-up has been spectacular. Last week with the kids.
With the singing and the sheet masks.
I mean, it was just expert-level stuff.
Using the children, that which powers John Cena and gives him strength.
It's just really, it works on so many levels. As a young person, as a child watching the show, this guy is obviously evil and crazy and spouting stuff you don't understand, and that pisses you off. And, Cena is Superman. He's a hero. He's the good guy.
Kal-El from Krypton.
Yeah.
He's super strong and made of iron and unkillable.
As an adult, you understand what Bray Wyatt's saying, and you see the conflict, and if you're one of those morally righteous kind of people, you really want Cena to succeed, and you see the depths that he's fallen to, and where they're trying to drag him, and on the level of a smark. Again, for those of you who aren't aware, that's a smart mark. Mark being someone who is really into wrestling, gets super hyped, lets themselves get sucked into storylines, and sometimes doesn't let themselves, just doesn't know any better. We're aware wrestling is staged and theatrical.
I really don't feel like we should have to say that, because, we're not dumb.
This is going to be on YouTube. You're going to get those comments that are like, don't you guys know wrestling is fake? What are you wasting all this, 45 minutes talking about it for?
It's actually, we're at 51 minutes so far.
51 minutes, so...
And we're not even to the main event yet.
Well, we got 2 more matches, and I don't really have much to say about the other 2, but, and honestly, there's not much to say about this except for gushing.
It's just, it was good. And, of course, Cena didn't lose clean. He's John Cena.
Well, and they're the Wyatt family. I never expected, you don't want those heels to go over clean. They need to get over.
Being heels. That's the point.
Psychology and
cheating.
Gang tactics and cheating. That's
all
how
legal in a cage match, but...
That's how that team wins. They bring out, Satan in child form, and John Cena shits his pants and has to get back to the ring.
Because, really, you gotta
I don't want to go out there. They're going to see me walk with a dump in my drawers.
That's,
It's camouflage, so they might not notice, but don't want to take that chance.
Who really wants to go one-on-one with Beelzebub? That was just beautiful,
and stupid. But so stupid it was beautiful.
The exact right kind of stupid. The exact kind of stupid that I love from wrestling. The exact kind of, oh my god, they actually went there. They actually went with Satan Child.
Yeah. Like, anytime Kane starts shooting fire or coming up out of the ring.
To drag her down under the ring so that she will be, I guess, under the ring?
Yeah. But, it works on a smart level, too, because you know what's going on here, and they kind of toy with your expectations. I'm sure.
There were so many times I thought John Cena just had that.
There were so many times John was on the outside of the cage with both feet on the outside of the cage. All the guy had to do was fall, and he won.
And they kept swerving, and it wasn't the bad swerve. No, they kept toying with you. They kept yanking the chain on the match. And I honestly think it probably could have done with 1 or 2 fewer of those, but I don't begrudge them.
At the same time, I think a swerve like that only works, or only needs to stop when it stops working. You know what I mean? Once the fans are clearly getting tired of it, then
that's
it has to stop.
That's when you pull out little Johnny the Demon Child and end the match.
And you also have to remember, the vibe in the arena is going to be different than at home. You at home can sit there and go, oh my god, when are they going to stop doing the swerves? This is so dumb. Because you're not sucked up into it. You're not hyped by all the other people around you. And getting, excited and gasping along with everybody. It's that mob mentality. It's the difference between when we watch Raw every week and when we go to a live event nearby. The stupidest shit can be happening in the ring. We're like, yes, yes, yes.
Because being in the crowd, especially a crowd that size, will drag you down and make you interested. And I feel like some of the match was for those people.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing.
No, you played to the most important audience, and the most important audience is the one who bought tickets.
Because they paid you a lot of money.
Yeah.
I paid you $10. My opinion is not as important as the guy with front row seats.
It's not. But that was a good match. There was a promo not too long afterward. I think it was actually after the Divas match.
Where they brought out and named Little Johnny.
Yeah, Little Johnny. Gave him another sheep mask, and it was cute. It was clever. I think at some point I'd like to talk at length about the Wyatt family. I haven't seen a 3-person heel stable, which is obviously Main Dude and Mooks, or any heel stable, which is obviously Main Dude and Mooks, since the Ministry, where I cared as much about the Mooks as I do.
Yeah, Harper and Rowan are good guys, talented guys, and they sell that gimmick like it is paying for their children's chemotherapy, and it is beautiful.
Now, I gotta say I like Harper a lot more than Rowan. But every time I try to really find fault with Rowan...
No, he's just doing his job.
Yeah, I'm just like, he's just sitting there...
doing his job.
In his sheep mask, being creepy and...
doing his job.
Yeah,
his job is to be creepy and otherwise bland.
Yeah, right. He doesn't need much of a personality.
In decreasing order of personality, it goes Bray Wyatt, several orders of magnitude, Luke Harper.
I think it's only because there is a Bray Wyatt. There has to be one Bray Wyatt. I think Luke Harper could do that job. He's got that Charles Manson look. He's got those crazy eyes.
He has some crazy fucking eyes.
And given the way his beard looks specifically and his mustache, when he smiles, he looks insane. He's got this Serge Tankian kind of like, but, he could sell it. But, we've got, I was trying to think of his real name. We've got Bray Wyatt.
And oh man, it is good. It is good. The Wyatt family wins, and I have never been happier to be wrong.
Oh yeah, we marked out so hard. It was a beautiful thing.
Oh, but
and again, if you've been watching, watch that match too. It's psychology. It's storytelling. It's not a good clinical wrestling match.
It's not for you if you haven't been watching the program because you're not going to get the build up. It's not going to be worth it. I say watch the Shield match, but if you're up on things and you just missed the pay-per-view, because it's expensive and you don't want the network for whatever reason, then I say go find that match also because it's a good story.
If you want a good wrestling match, Evolution versus the Shield. If you want a good story, John Cena versus Bray Wyatt in the steel cage.
Which brings us to our next match.
Yeah, the Divas contest, I believe.
Yeah, and normally I would make a joke about it being the piss break match or whatever, but it was a solid match.
It was the best Divas match we've seen in WWE in a while.
Yeah, I would easily say that. Mm-hmm. Paige was on point and also very good. So, and Tamina Snuka was a power wrestler.
It could have been better.
It could have been better. It could have been way worse.
It has been way worse. I mean, we could be looking at Kelly versus Alicia Fox here.
Look, I'm not a huge Kelly fan, but let's not wish harm on the poor girl.
Well, I have Kelly in Paige's shoes. She got to go over.
Right, but Alicia Fox has to do moves on her at some point.
Yeah, true.
By the way, I've been talking a couple times tonight about how Husky Harris got really good. He's much more entertaining in the ring now. He's great on mic work. He's Bray Wyatt now. Wade Barrett got good. He's Bad News Barrett. Just so we're all clear, Alicia Fox still blows.
She got a little better, but they just pretty much don't ever wrestle anymore.
Because she's terrifying, and I keep thinking she's gonna kill someone.
She had a neat fox hat. I mean, there's that. That must have cost at least $15.
You're so easy to please.
I don't know. It's a cool fox hat. I wouldn't mind having one, but
other than that, it was a good match. Paige goes over, obviously.
Yeah, and that's nice. It's nice for them to sell that talent. I think they allowed for both of them to
to showcase their stuff.
Yeah, showcase their
Sold the Scorpion Crosslock, I believe it's called.
Yeah, modified Scorpion Crosslock is what Cole keeps saying. I think she calls it a page something.
No, she calls that the Scorpion Crosslock.
Oh, does she?
She might call it the modified Scorpion Crosslock. The other thing, the leg hook.
That's the page turner, but I
turner.
think they had some other stupid name for this.
She calls it a Scorpion Crosslock now.
Oh, okay. Well, I ain't mad about it.
Scorpion Crosslock is way cooler name for it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to have,
a dumb page
a
name.
dumb page name.
No, and it looks too cool.
I'd say this was a solid C+ match. I don't think it was quite... I think there were a little too many, I don't want to say botched moves, but...
Rough
moves for it to be in the B category.
No, it's C+.
But it wasn't bad, and they managed to keep the pace up, and they showcased both wrestlers' talents.
And they did a lot with having the crowd be not into it, because the crowd never really is into Divas matches, and they did the best they could with what they had.
There were a fair amount of cheers, and they weren't breast-related, so, I mean, I was pretty, they did a good job.
Wrestling-related for once. Which leads us to the main event.
Yes.
The main event of the evening, the WWE World Heavyweight title on the line between Daniel Bryan, I almost reversed his name, and Kane. This has been just an awful build-up.
Oh, God. Horrible.
Like, it's obviously just to keep Daniel Bryan busy for a couple months. It's obviously, there's no chance Kane's winning. Then they don't even, I think on the whole thing, I heard Team Hell No mentioned maybe twice in the whole build-up. And one of those times was tonight, when the fact that these guys used to be great friends, and they used to be partners, and they were tag team champions for a long time, that should be one of the main selling points of your gimmick. But they were too busy trying to sell Kane as something that he just hasn't been for years.
And they could have. I mean, okay, here's a couple of problems with this whole build-up. Number one, first and foremost, Daniel Bryan took 2 weeks off. Which is fine. Dude worked really hard. He got married. He deserves 2 weeks off. I'm not trying to begrudge him his time off. But it
hurt the bill.
It hurt the bill.
Which might be why they're looking to give it another pay-per-view cycle. If you saw the end of the match, where Kane, sat up after Bryan. Spoilers: Bryan won. But yeah, where Kane did the sit-up and the flames. No, they're probably...
Yeah, no, I saw that.
They're giving us another pay-per-view cycle, which is good, because maybe they can improve the build a little.
But the other places I thought there were missteps. One, Steph's character was unclear.
Yeah, it wasn't clear whether or not she was just playing Daniel Bryan, or whether she was legit just fucking terrified of Kane, and Daniel Bryan was being kind of a dick, for obvious and very understandable reasons.
And they only made it worse at the pay-per-view with the promo mentioned earlier, and we kind of glossed over it, but Steph basically said, this is a scary match, I would understand if you don't want to do it, you can get out of it if you give up your title.
Which, obviously, pushes her character in the direction of just fucking with Daniel Bryan. And I think the line after that kind of pushes her over the edge into, they cleared up her character there.
Maybe, and then just before the match, they put on that whole video package, and a big focal point of it is Stephanie sounding legitimately concerned, telling Bree to run away, telling Kane not to do this, and, sounding a little panicked.
It muddied the waters a little bit.
It did, and
unnecessarily.
Yeah.
That was weird.
But, yeah, and thing 3, Kane should have gotten a new look, entirely.
Yeah, they did some minor tweaks to his outfit, but you should have gone with something new, because that was not...
What? New mask.
New mask, no. The mask is the selling point. Him putting the mask back on, that's the selling point. You don't change the mask, you change the outfit, you change... Maybe you don't go with the wig.
That was basically my main point. I mean, I thought it was weird that they scalped him in the first place.
Well, he wasn't exactly, he wouldn't be, to borrow a phrase from the internet, he wouldn't be Citizen Kane with, the long, weird, ropey Kane hair.
Well, no, I mean, he could have gotten a haircut as part of his corporate mandate or something like that. But keeping the hair, like literally scalping him. I don't quite understand what the point of that was.
Look, it's Kane in the mask has a certain look. Don't question it.
But it hurts things. I mean, and especially when there's a dude in the front row yelling at Kane that his hair is fake, and
you have fake hair, and Kane looked like, I know that.
Toward the end of the match, when his mask got on kind of sideways, and you see the patchy, grown-in parts of his head next to the wig, which it's a nice wig when the mask is in place.
But it's a wrestling match.
Yeah. You can't expect to hide Sting's identity or Goldust's identity with face paint, because it's going to come off.
Mm-hmm. Because in wrestling matches, people tend to get hit in the face.
And sweat.
A lot.
Yeah.
Because they're doing really intensive stuff.
Under hot lights.
Really hot lights.
But, these are small things. I mean, it was an okay build. They did the best they could with it. It kind of felt like it came out of nowhere, and because they didn't bother to really link it back to the story past between Kane and Daniel Bryan.
It felt rushed, uneven, odd, and ultimately pointless.
It would be like if they brought back Shawn Michaels to fight Triple H and they never mentioned that they've been friends.
This is obviously a make-work gimmick to keep Daniel Bryan busy while Evolution's busy playing with the Shield.
Or until they set him up another opponent,
Or until Brocky Boy gets off his ass and comes back for Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar, which should so totally happen. Right now, Brock Lesnar is Satan incarnate in the WWE Universe. He beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania, as Paul Heyman so loves to point out. So he is the devil. And Bray and Daniel Bryan is so over, it's astounding. It is straight up baffling how over he is. And him beating Brock Lesnar clean and decisively is just, it is a no-brainer. It gets that heat, that huge amounts of "we hate you, you die, you evil bastard" heat off of Brock Lesnar, who's a part-timer who's not going to do anything with it, and helps sell more Daniel Bryan t-shirts, which ultimately is what they want to do.
I don't think Brock Lesnar is ever going to agree to that.
He agreed to lose clean to John Cena.
John Cena's not 5'10", and 230 pounds? Look, I can't really speak specifically to Mr. Lesnar backstage. I hear he's improved his attitude a lot since his first run in the WWE.
I also hear that. He's mostly just kind of a shut-in now.
But I know he still has an ego, and I know...
He had enough of an ego to say yes.
I know he still, is probably not going to be like, yeah, job me out to Daniel Bryan clean. That sounds like fun.
I have to trust in WWE's ability to motivate and control their talent, and in Brock Lesnar's ability to be a goddamned professional.
I think they're taking that heat and putting it on Paul Heyman.
Which is also a good use of it.
Yeah, that's fine use of it. I mean, Paul, not that he needs it, the man can generate his own heat, but...
Just by talking for 2 minutes. Oh, but it is a great way to jab the audience and be like, hey, remember that I suck? Remember how much you hate me? Never forget. Never forget.
But the match itself, the title match, was pretty cool. It was 90s garbage wrestling, and
it was some moves, mostly just them hitting each other with stuff. And I miss garbage wrestling, so I know Daniel Bryan's a talented technical wrestler. I know Glenn Jacobs is a talented wrestler. He's a power wrestler. I don't care. I want to watch them hit each other with trash cans and chairs and kendo sticks.
Yeah, I miss that stuff. I miss the goofy bowling balls and stuff from the 90s.
For crap's sakes, they involved a forklift.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I mean, it wasn't my kind of garbage wrestling match. Nobody bled profusely. There was no barbed wire or thumbtacks, but it was nice. It was nice to see. Yeah,
it's a PG garbage match.
It's a PG show.
It's a PG show.
I understand. And there was a table on fire. I mean, hey, that's more than I ever expected. So.
Right? I was surprised.
Yeah, that was tight.
They had to go a little bologna, fudge, and mustard with it, but they
did all right.
They did what they could.
Yeah, I mean, it was solid B. I mean, not that I'm trying to grade every match, but just to give folks an idea.
It's sort of like it's a thing that we started doing as this podcast has started an hour ago, and it's a useful way to give a summary of your thoughts on the thing. Yeah. Overall, I'd say this pay-per-view was pretty good. Probably the best one I've seen recently, the best one in my recent memory, and something I would recommend to anyone who has the network. I would not recommend you buy this on a standalone. It's not worth $30. But it's certainly worth $10.
I don't know if you regularly pay that kind of money for this, and
I would say that you're wasting your money. Why would you?
Thank you. You've just divided our fan base of 4 in half.
If you're going to spend the money on the pay-per-view anyway, get the network.
Well, I mean, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
True. It's just economically sound.
It's just a better decision.
But
for now, they might change the price eventually.
I don't know. I think they've got a smart move here. I'm worried about what effect it has on the wrestlers. I know that's also part of the reason that CM Punk is on hiatus officially.
Yeah, because they weren't sure what that does to buy rates.
Because that's where wrestlers get paid from. They get their bonuses from pay-per-view buy rates. And, what does this mean? People aren't going to be buying it as much on,
cable. They can't buy it on DirecTV and Dish anymore.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a huge wrestling scuttlebutt kind of guy. I don't go trolling around PWI and stuff like that. I don't. But I like to keep up on the industry passively, I guess.
And I'm sure that if it starts to affect buy rates enough, they will start to lose talent, which means they will start to lose business. And the WWE hates losing business.
Yeah.
So if it affects the wrestlers too much, that will get corrected. Just the market will correct itself on.
That's true. But I would say, more than anything, I think the reason this pay-per-view is so good, and we discussed this at the time, was the clean sweep. I mean, everyone who needed to win, won.
Everyone who needed to win won. Everyone who should have won. There wasn't any decision I was against. Any decision I thought was a poor call.
Yeah.
This was a better set of outcomes than I could have reasonably hoped for. And I think that actually colors my view of the pay-per-view positively.
I would agree. I mean, it's a lot easier as a fan to put up with, mediocre matches, if you get to have fun. I mean, if you get a crap match and the guy you like wins in the end of it,
okay,
it's a little bit of an easier pill to swallow,
Than if you get a crap match
and John Cena
and Brock Lesnar wins at the end.
Brock Lesnar, beats the streak.
It's just
I
put that on a different shelf.
Half of me wishes we'd started this podcast last month, and then the other half of me knows that we'd be filling 4+ hours, and if we'd started it right after the show,
it would have just been rage.
Angry Rant City.
Rage against the dying of the light. And that was...
but I think that's going to wrap it up for us this week. Thank you for joining us and letting us into your homes and phones.
Also, I mean, if you're still listening at this point, thanks for sticking it out. You have made it to the end, and I am proud of you.
But since we are on the YouTubes, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll be back here next week. I've got all kinds of other videos out there for you. Plenty of stuff coming soon, big plans in the works, but hopefully this will tide you over for now. And if you want to leave a comment, there's a pretty good chance we'll read it.
I mean, it's not like we have a wealth of comments that we have to beat off of the stick that we can't.
Yeah. Right now.
Tell us we suck. By all means, I'm looking forward to the horror land that is YouTube comments.
We like constructive criticism, though. So if you think there's something we can do better with the show,
have the boy talk less.
have White's sexy voice occur more. But yes, thank you for listening, and you guys have a great night.
Fuck it, let's get hardcore!